Oh, do you want to do? Does Scott need to do cue music because he's guest? It'd be
Well,
polite, wouldn't it?
Scott can do cue music when we get to that point.
Are you going to recut it in?
Well, I've clicked record already, so I think we're probably just going to leave this bit. But I mean,
Okay.
I'm now happy with your levels, so that's good. Scott, what about your levels? Do your levels look good?
Yeah, all sounds good.
Yeah, your levels look good. Cool. Tom, what about your levels? Perfect. Exactly what I expected.
Turn the knife. He's dead to us, Hobble is. He's dead to us.
Go on then, Scott. You can say it.
Cue the music.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. As always, I am joined by Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, hello, sir.
Hello, Christopher. Hello, everybody out there in podcast land.
It wouldn't be great if there was just like a theme park called Podcast Land, but I guess all you would do is sit and listen. Maybe it wouldn't be great. No Tom Hovel with us this week. He's got other things he's doing, but do not fear because we have a special guest joining us this week for a segment that we are calling Hot Takes. I might stick a explosion sound effect every time I say the word hot takes. We'll see how much effort I want to put in once we're done recording. Joining us this week to give us his Blood Bowl hot takes, somebody who referring to them as a master of goblins is an understatement. Coach of the Flumps and the Flamingos, the only person I've ever met who willingly goes into battle with all stunty goblins and nothing else and refuses to turn his head otherwise. It is the one and only Mr. Scott Norman. Scott, hello, and thank you very much for joining us this week.
Hello, cheers for having me.
I'm keen to hear what your hot takes are. I'm partly expecting goblins to make a relatively firm appearance in at least one of them, but I will just let you tell us, what is your first Blood Bowl hot take?
So my first hot take might not be, maybe a tepid take, I don't know. Crowd surfs and fouling should grant you SPP.
I like that we're starting with a tepid take, but I'm immediately 100% on board. Straight away, without question. I don't know whether... Are you thinking they should get the same SPP as a casualty, or are you thinking they should just get some?
What I'd say one, because, at least something. There's a Predator Nuffle that gives you one for fouling, but that's the whole Predator Nuffle thing. But the amount of times that I've done damage as a goblin from fouls and got nothing for it is slightly annoying. So
it's a solid take.
Oh,
Scott, what do you think?
That's a solid drive to the covers, isn't it? To start, I love the fouling. I love the SPP doing that one SPP for the crowd surfing. Yeah, because it is the crowd. What I would like to see, whoever gets crowd surfed, if they have already earned SPP during that match, they either lose it all or it gets reduced. So, for example, if you've already done, you've scored a touchdown, they have 3 SPP, which is coming to them. If they get crowd surfed, that's either reduced to 2 or they just lose it altogether.
So you want the complete opposite to what Scott wants. You want.
I want to make sure. I want your player to be rewarded for fouling.
Right.
I also would like the player who blitzes or surfs that person into the crowd to get an SPP as well. And then whoever is the surfee, as in they end up in the crowd, if they get, knocked out, injured or whatever, they lose their own SPP. You shouldn't, if you're in the crowd, it is. But if you're in the crowd, you deserve some sort of, retribution, and not just from the crowd themselves. Because how many times do we see it? It's really frustrating. To Scott's point, you set up the surf, you get the player off the pitch. Oh, look, I've rolled a 2. Oh, look, they're going to go back straight into the reserves. Thank you very much indeed. Come on.
No, I think that's fine. Like the crowd
Yeah.
love them. Like I think it's good. It gets the crowd involved. I'm fully on board. So is it every crowd surf gets you SPP or just casualties from crowd surfs?
I'd say you'd still have to get the casualty.
Okay.
So, successful crowd surf, which ends in a casualty, 1 SPP.
I think that makes
not just a general crowd surf, Scott. Just a
No.
get off my pitch. You deserve 1 SPP for that, don't you? Surely
You've got to spill some blood. It's in the name of the game. So
could be a few broken bones and injury. Just, come on, I'm trying to give the Golbos a bit of extra here. Come on, work with me here.
Okay, so I think give an SPP for a surf cash and an SPP for a foul cash. Absolutely love it. Great idea.
Cool.
How about
So
if you surf? So let's say you've surfed the player because you've given the crowd something to punch. What if for every surf you roll a d6 and if you get a 6, you gain a fan?
I quite like that.
yeah,
That almost sounds like that could be like a special coach, special team. From Death Bowl or something. That sounds like very flavoursome.
It might have to be something specific that you take that allows you to do that, but it's what the crowd want, isn't it? And especially then if the crowd have killed someone for you and you're getting the skill for it, I think that makes complete sense. So in your goblin world, Scott, I can't think of any better way to describe it than your goblin world. How much do you think percentage-wise, how much do you lose out skill-wise because you don't get specifically from fouling any SPP when you cause a foul cash?
Probably about 50%. To be fair, it's the majority. If you look at my roster this season, there's 2 people doing the casualties. That's my ball and chain and my chainsaw. Some goblins are getting a lucky punch, but the majority are like doing work with their, by sticking the boot in. So they're not earning anything. They're not. So it's just goblins, I guess. Bring more weapons, but I am losing out. If I got points for every single foul, I'd have a much more developed team and a lot more bonus points. I've had that thing where you hit the threshold for extra points because you've done the casualties, but they're not casualties.
I have a question then for you, Scott. Given the fact that Golbos and all stunties have a lower KO, because obviously they're stunty, their armor is less, they get KO'd on a lower value than a regular Blood Bowl player. Should stunties then get SPP for a KO? Because no one gets SPP for a KO at the moment, but should stunties get SPP for a KO? Chris is not looking entirely convinced by that. No,
I wouldn't say that because
no,
especially if you throw a bomb and you get, you hit a K, you just 5 KOs. So I think 10 SPP from one bomb.
Well, just one SPP. So suddenly you got 5 SPP on your bomber.
5, on turn 1.
I think it would be good to be able to, we use tour play for the league. It would be great if you could track KOs because I think that is quite telling in a game when you can't see how many players are knocked out. Sometimes you can't see the whole story. So I know that would be good. Giving skills, you need to finish the job. You need to double tap. You need to get through, and you need to keep them off the pitch, not just get them off temporarily. Just for some reference for everybody listening, our current league standings, having only just gone into playoffs, when it comes to the dirtiest player and therefore the most fouls, second place has 16, and Scott's Flamingos are currently top with 40. So just a bit of a gauge as to exactly how much this man I think it's worth. And sending offs, second place has 5, and first place again Flamingos with 23. So it is an impressive.
That's not bad. From 40 fouls, only 23 sending off.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's a lot of bribes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, whether that was a tepid take or a hot take, I don't know, but it was a very solid choice. Scott, what is your second hot take for us?
Star players should only be hireable by their race rather than the big umbrella thing that we currently have.
Ooh. Okay, I feel like I'm going to need some like examples of when. Oh, I'm going to need some more on this. So, like, which kind of star player team combos in particular is this going to like hurt the most? Like, what are you looking to stop with this rule?
So it's always Griffin Bomber, Cindy and Bomber, Griffin, Morg. Like it's the same star players in every single team because they play for any team. And I just feel it'd be more thematic, which is fun. And then you'd probably have to add star players in because some teams don't have enough. Some have more than enough. Like I know I have access to hundreds of goblins, but some of them don't really fit. Like I could take Creek, the ball and chain Skaven rat ogre.
Yeah.
Why can I?
Verminator.
Yeah, why can I build a Skaven rat ogre when I have no rats as a goblin? It doesn't feel thematic for me.
So do you think that's a reflection of a lack of star players, or the star player pool doesn't have a good enough distribution?
Yeah, probably the latter, the distribution. Like I said, like so many teams will take Bomber Dribblesnot because he's dirt cheap and he's good at what he does.
So teams that this is impacted, like star players in particular, this is impacted then. So I'm just looking at the basic rulebook here. I haven't got sort of more detailed ones. So looking at the star players that can play for anyone, Grack and Crumbleberry. So are you limiting Grack and Crumbleberry because that is a ogre and a halfling? Are you limiting Grack and Crumbleberry to just halflings or just ogres or both?
I'd say both because they do come as a pair. You couldn't just have Crackleberry.
What about then, just go on to one. So if you take Gloria Summerbloom, for example, she's the Wood Elf thrower. So she can at the moment play for any Elven League. So she can play for Wood Elves, High Elves, Elven Union, and Dark Elves. Should that be restricted just to Wood Elves? Or are you saying that, because obviously Elves a bit more tricky in terms of taking a lot, or should it be race specific? So Wood Elves or Wood Elves, Dark Elves or Dark Elves, etc.
Ooh, maybe meet in the middle. So if she's a Wood Elf, I don't know her cost. 200k is her cost, for example. Make her a touch cheaper for her Wood Elves, but every other elf pays a touch more.
See, now you've stumbled on something that I think is a good compromise for this. That you could have, that star players could cost, say, their current for. So let's take Griff as an example. Griff for humans costs you 280. If you wanted to take Griff for someone else, you can, but there's like a tax on top of that would make them even more expensive. That might put people off.
Because you have that with the Halfling Master Chef.
Yeah, who is cheaper for halflings, but no one else.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I can think of that has that like caveat. And I've taken a Master Chef as goblins before. Hilarious.
What about someone like Deeproot? Big Tree at the moment, would that be specific to one particular team, or
is that tree teams? Because then you've got Old World Alliance, Wood Elves, Halflings, Gnomes. That's a good spread for Deeproot.
Because Deeproot, Wood Elves can't take him at the moment.
Oh, so it would add.
If you want to check your book, yeah.
I mean, how good is a tree to a Wood Elf team anyway, Scott?
As long as he doesn't get rooted, he's wonderful. So I'm more than happy with that. So.
Halfling, Thimble Cup, or Old World Classic is Deeproot.
So would you then, on that, would you limit that, Scott, to say just Halfling Thimble Cup, or would you say no, he can go either way?
Probably making cheaper for the Thimble Cups, the stunty teams.
Because Old World Classic have they have quite the smorgasbord, don't they, already, if you want to look at the book.
Yeah. There's a lot more to it than just they can only play for their race now that I've opened this kind of metaphorical
No. Don't go back on this take. I'm on board with it. There is one particular example that there is the small furry elephant in the room that we do need to cover, which is Acorn the squirrel. Who there is no squirrel race. So
gnomes need him, don't they? They've got the foxes, they've got the badgers. If they got the geese,
isn't it?
Yeah, if they're running full body, just animals everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
I like this one. I think there's there is something to this, and I think a maybe. So if you opened all star players up, so would you open all star players up to everyone, but have a ridiculous level tax similar to what you do with the halfling master chef? So would you consider, I don't know, Griff is the example. Griff can play for humans, or he can play for Old World, or he can play for Imperial Nobility. But if he wants to go for anyone else, rather than 280, he's like 400.
Does it have to, I think the question there for you to answer that, Chris, is are you looking for a star player to just be a statistical engine, as it's going to add you that value to your team, whether it's the particular skill set? So it's almost like you pick that particular player for your team against that opposition, if you can afford it, or are you wanting to be more lore accurate? So I can't imagine someone like the dwarves suddenly said, oh yeah, we'll have Hack Phlegm for the afternoon. But that would be funny, and I'm sure dwarf players at it would like, yeah, I'll have a 9 gutter runner with 2 heads. Thank you very much.
The only problem I have with trying to be more lore accurate is that I have a team of lizardmen who play on an ice hockey pitch, and I feel like if we start being lore accurate, I'm in trouble. So I'm keen to avoid lore accurate.
Sorry, what's not real? What's not the real world about lizard men on ice? Is that not, you know?
I mean, it would make a great stage show. I would go watch Lizard Men on Ice. I feel like it would probably be run by conspiracy theorists, but I think it would be a entertaining show. I'd watch it. Another fantastic take there, Scott. I'm
2 for 2 so far.
I think that one needs more work than the first one, but I'm on board. Again, I'm on board. Lead us into then your third and final hot take.
Okay, so originally I was going to say team rerolls 1 per turn, and I thought because I've got 6 and I will be using all 6 in a turn. So that's gone.
Okay.
I've gone with bring back the old petty cash inducement rules from a couple of FAQs ago. If you can remember, it was if your CTV was higher, you could make up the difference with petty cash. But then if you wanted to, you could spend treasury to go above. And then this person would then be able to match up, and then that would be it. Now you can't do that, and it basically means that certain teams, normally stunties, who have a like CCV difference, we can make up the difference, but then we can't spend our treasury, which is like 500,000, because we're not allowed. We can only make up the difference with petty cash. It's annoying because I want to buy more fun things for my goblins.
See, now, as a coach who spent a couple of seasons with a high-value lizard team, watching everybody take inducements to kind of just meet me, and always wanting to take inducements myself, like, I'm on board with this as someone who's played a lot of games being the higher value team, because I think you're right. Like, I think allowing like halflings, for example, to buff themselves to be way above the team value, you're still leveling it out by giving the originally higher coach, you're still leveling it out by giving them the money to spend. And I guess the only problem, now I'm talking out loud, is that you could end up in a scenario where you basically have like stars versus stars, and the teams that you're playing almost become irrelevant in a way, because you're kind of, one team is buffing themselves way up, and then the other team also buffs up, and then it's a battle of what stars they take. So I guess that could be a situation you get into, but I am on board with this. I do like this. I was sad that I started playing like not far before I think this rule came into play, so I never got to be the higher value team that could still take inducements. So I do like this. Scott, what do you think?
I've never really played Blood Bowl with the petty cash inducement involved, and then that additional, which my concern is it would lead to sort of a power race. in terms of how far do you level up, knowing your opponent can as well. And then, yeah, so it's not something I've ever played with. Is it something that appeals to me? No. Would I be worried about? No. Often I'm playing a lower value as well in terms of the teams, particularly when you've got a new roster. So I think the star players, they'd get a better return if they balanced out the star players in terms of, who could go for who. And yeah, maybe we should write into Games Workshop and say, put that tax on them, give them more opportunity. But you don't have to make, say, Griff open to everybody, but whoever he is applicable for, there have to be a certain criteria of races within that who can have him cheaper. And you need, I think, for the stunties, I think if you're going to have a halfling master chef, why can't you expand that to gnomes? We've talked about gnomes maybe missing something, being slightly undercooked, and therefore why can't you expand it to gobbos, snotlings, all the little fellas?
Let's run this as an example then. So we just so happen to have, Scott, the fact that your next game is you have got an incredibly large amount of inducements. So you've got 400 and something. 470, I think. Is that right?
17511.
No, 370. I think you got 370.
Yeah, just shy of 400k.
Yeah. So you don't have to stick to this just in case Jamie's listening, but what would you take? What would be your plan B with 370? And what would be your plan if that 370 suddenly, because you could use your treasury, went up to 500?
Yeah, so the normally the auto includes for me are 3 bribes and a couple of cheap goblin style players. So yeah, 150 on bribes. Bombers brings it to 200k. Fungus brings that to 280. I then bring Fink to Fixer to help me with bribes. That brings it to 3. He's 80k. 360. And then that's it. So, no keg to help me survive, nothing like that. And I would love to take a couple of kegs.
So would that additional like 140 then go on to 2 kegs?
Yeah, because like I'm stacking the odds in offense, but I've got no defense. Like
wouldn't you go for you wouldn't go for anything else like a wizard, or is that your tried and tested inducement list, Scott?
Yeah, I tend to go weapons and bribes. But the thing with secret weapons and bribes is like if the fanatic falls over turn 1 because he triple skulls, that's him gone. If I get caught fouling, that's him gone. Like you can always roll a 1 into a 1, and then I'm sent off as a coach. Like, so it's very risk rewardy that. But if I could use my treasury, like obviously that would then give Jamie more money to catch up with. But so be it. Like if I want to bring a wizard just to cause havoc.
Because then the other flip side of that is, of course, Chris, you mentioned it there in terms of if in that example, Scott took all his smorgasbord of wonderful Gobbo delights. How many players has Jamie got at the moment on his roster? So,
11.
for example, if he had 11, all of a sudden he could possibly get an extra, one extra player, which is that going to tip the balance too far?
Well, this was going to be my next question. So this is a question for you, Mr. Bryant. If, let's say, just for a moment, forget your Skaven and Elf allegiances that you've got, and pretend you're a dwarf coach. So just lower your chair a couple of foot. Just get yourself a bit hunkier, a bit further down. Right.
Yeah.
There we are. That's better. Yeah. So you're a dwarf coach, right? You're coming up against a goblin team. This goblin team just normally has got a chainsaw and a fanatic, and they're now bringing a bomber as well, and they're bringing another fanatic. Scott.
Yep.
They're bringing 3 bribes. They're bringing Fink the Fixer so that they can help themselves with those bribes, and they're bringing 2 kegs so that they can come back quicker. So let's just say all of that maxed out, maybe chuck a mascot in there as well. You as the dwarf coach now have 130 to spend. What are you bringing to counter what you now know? Because you know at this point what the goblins are bringing. So what are you bringing to counter?
I'm definitely going to be bringing an extra player. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what the dwarf prices are. I'd be looking to bring something which was, very resilient. So, or maybe what's the price on an extra? How many slayers can we have in a dwarf team? And if I wasn't maxed out, probably two. I'd definitely get, say, at least one lineman. So I've got that spare as well. Maybe bring an APOC as well. So you've got a traveling APOC's 100k, isn't it? But if it's 50k and I don't already have an APOC, I bring it? I would do something
already. I'm going to tell you now, you've got an APOC already.
So I got 50.
Just another point to make. So you also have a treasury of 270.
Ooh.
But obviously, if you buy players before the game, you're increasing the amount that Scott has to spend, and he's still got his treasury on top of it. So if you want to kind of keep it low, it's just that 130, and it's just got to be on inducements.
The other thing is you can't use inducement money to add normal players to your roster. You can get a mercenary or a star player, but you can't add a basic roster guy with inducement money.
So you've got Cindy's an option. Cindy and Acorn you could take for 130.
Cindy,
I don't like it now. No, I take it back. I take it back.
I'd be looking at max damage.
Out on this straight away.
I'd be looking at you'd be looking at max damage output, because if you could get a bomb in there on a little gobbo cage, that'd be very nice indeed, wouldn't it? So whatever you can do to increase your dwarf longevity and your numbers, because it's just whatever you can do to make your little cage that a bit more cagey.
Okay.
But I wouldn't even think about taking dwarves in the first place. Nah. And to shows I don't really look at dwarves. Have the dwarves? I'm going to be throwing and following from last week's spectacular failure on the quiz. What star players do dwarves have?
What, as in that are dwarves?
Yeah,
the guy with the bazooka.
the cannoneer guy and the death roller. Death roller's like 170 because I remember that from getting that wrong last week.
Yeah, you've got Grull half height, but that's 150. You have also got Grim Ironjaw as well. You've got the White Dwarf up there at
Grom Brindle. How much is he? Yeah,
210. So yeah, got that kind of mix there.
Then I'm just going through all my almanacs. The other thing as a goblin player, I have to bring a library every time I play because there's one star player. There's another. I've got another book full of inducements. That's over there. Like, they are. There's my hot take. PDF files, digital files. Can we just have everything on like tablets?
Come on, Scott. Where's the money in it for Games Workshop? Come on.
What about the ultimate collection, which is just one really ridiculously thick book, which is just all of them.
It's like War and Peace size. Like...
Yeah, exactly. I'll take that.
Will it come with like a health warning for health and safety, lifting, best practice, and
Absolutely.
There's a risk that opening and closing this book has a significant risk of RSI.
I think that's another solid. Take there, Scott. I think that's three solid hot takes from the game there. All of which I would happily include in some kind of homebrew rule because they're all quite interesting. So
I would go with two, not to be controversial. I like the SPP on fouling and the crowd surfing, and I like the fact that I think that the star players should have a bit more rationale about them. In terms of the whole treasury versus petty cash inducements, no, I'm not having that. No.
Play Stunty, you will change your mind when your treasury is just, massive incident after massive incident, and you can't do nothing with it. Because what are you going to do? Buy more snotlings? Like,
can I buy a giant?
Yeah, with your petty cash, yeah.
There you go.
Scott, thank you so much for bringing those takes to us.
Yep.
Solid choices there. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Mr. Bryant, sir, if people want to tell us, maybe they want to come on and tell us their hot takes and they want to take the green box in the corner, or maybe they've got an opinion on some of Scott's takes, how on earth do they get in touch with us?
That's a great question, Chris. If people do want to take temporary ownership of that green box space, email us at the following. So that's new dice please, all lowercase, all one word, new dice please at gmail.com. If you also want to get hold of us, we're also part of the Aardvarks and Dragon, the ADBBL Monday Night Roundup, and all things good on there. You can see us on Twitch, on YouTube, on Instagram. You can see us on all podcast sites, whether they are dubious or not so dubious. Tell your friends, tip your waitress, try the fish. This is usually Tom Hovell's part because he's down with the kids, but obviously he's recorded his Netflix season 3 special episode tonight.
I think it's the Christmas special today, isn't it? That's gonna.
Is it really?
Yeah.
For
BBC
tonight.
One, 8 o'clock. Tom Hovell's Christmas special. I can picture the set with the fake fireplace and like the audience cheering. I think that's what we're getting.
Tom Hovell before Strictly, after Doctor Who. That's what the world dreams of.
That's it. Yeah. Just the warm up back to Mrs. Brown Boys.
I do need to call out though, Pat, and all our international audience. So anyone outside Suffolk or East Anglia, yes, just a evening, everybody out there in the big wide world.
All 3 of them.
Absolutely. Are we that many already? Wow.
I know, right?
This is the empire. It started. Anyone you want to shout out, Scott? Anyone, friends, family, or just anyone you want to disown you in general for being on the NDP podcast?
Just the shop and like all the work like you guys doing behind the scenes with the Mind charity. I mean, Chris shaved his head. Absolute lunatic. Why? Beautiful flowing locks.
It's this color now as well, which I don't know if you've seen.
Wow.
It.
No, what's happened there?
Just stress.
So do you want to describe your reaction to that, Scott, to all our listeners? Because obviously this is a podcast.
Yeah, just didn't expect that. That's it's like the don't look behind the curtain. There's don't look there. There's nothing to see. But yeah, just the shop, the community you guys have got, big it up, and all the charities. Like everyone keeps donating. Like it's silly toy soldiers, but like it's helping people out at the end of the day with their troubles and their worries.
Yeah.
Scott Norman, thank you very much. Scott Bryant, thank you very much. Tom Hovell's photo, thank you very much. Thank you all for joining. Thank you everyone for listening. We have been New Dice Please, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, roll the theme tune.